Thundercast is go!
Hello everybody and welcome to the very first episode of Thundercast is Go. My name is Aaron Izzard and with me here today is...
Stephen Walker Emflorgo. Hey everyone.
We're here to talk to we're literally making this little podcast straight after seeing the very first episode, the UK TV premiere of Thunderbirds Are Go.
2015.
Indeed. And, where should we start then? How about the plot? Let's start with the plot.
Ah, yes. Would you like to go first?
Right, all I can say is, wow. You rarely get time to catch your breath in the course of this. So much goes on. Everything's moving so quickly. Oh, by the way, spoiler alert. For anyone who hasn't seen it, spoiler alert. The first rescue we see is conducted by Virgil in Thunderbird 2, rescuing a father and son in a hot air balloon caught in a storm.
And just the reveal to that rescue is just left so ominously. First of all, you see the balloon and the father making the distress call. And then through the clouds, you can see little glimpses. And then finally, just before the credits roll, you see Thunderbird 2 coming from the clouds to the rescue.
Yes, just this massive, lumbering green behemoth. Fantastic. And we also got to see Thunderbird 3. And we got to see Thunderbird 3 using its docking arms as well to stabilise a satellite that was out of spin.
Plus, for all those who are Jerry Anderson fans out there, you also get another reference in terms of what the satellite actually does. Oh yes. Yes.
And also we got to get a great view of Thunderbird 5 and the interior, which seems to be a sort of zero gravity environment. And also when John mentions nearly missing his favourite show, you got a quick glimpse of an old episode of Stingray.
Specifically the introduction to Stingray, whereas Stingray is being chased by the terrorfish.
That's right. And also...
specifically the line that KO says to Alan is, "Well done, Alan. You've successfully brought reruns back to TV."
I saw what you did there, creators. I saw what you did there. Also, the fact that this isn't Alan's first mission, but he hasn't had his own solo mission yet. It looks to be that KO has been going with him on a lot of his space missions, so he hasn't technically been on himself in command of his own mission yet. Which makes sense, him being the youngest.
Yeah, out of the family.
Yeah. Also, we have to mention the oh gosh, there were just so many references in this episode. So many great references. The captain of the sea lab, the walking undersea walker, the damn Captain Meddings. A nod there to the special effects supervisor for most of Jerry Anderson's shows, Mr. Derek Meddings.
who would later go on to make some of the Bond effects for the later Bond movies, including Moonraker, I believe.
Yes, and he also was the mastermind who made us believe that Superman could fly.
Ah.
But yes, so many great things. Right, and the plot. Okay, so getting back on track here. The plot follows international rescue receiving a distress call from this undersea walking undersea laboratory. After it gets into trouble, after an earthquake, a sudden earthquake strikes the area, and it
becomes stabilized and begins to break apart and fall.
Yes, off an ocean shelf into an abyss, and the Thunderbirds are called out to assist. And of course, first outing, we get a pod rescue with Thunderbird 4, which I'm very, very pleased about. We get to see Thunderbird 4 on its first outing, and very nearly gets into some serious trouble when, on his way down to rescue the C-Lab, Gordon picks up an odd transmission from some sort of device that's giving off a signal, which, was it Scott or Gordon said, that's the same transmitter Dad had on his ship?
That was Scott, I believe, who said that in a particular bit.
Yes, that's right. And so Gordon goes to investigate and enters into an undersea cave, whereupon he discovers that it's being caused by some odd device on the floor of this cave. And when he goes to investigate, the device activates and triggers another earthquake, trapping Thunderbird 4 in the cave and causing several rocks to land on top of it. And now with Thunderbird 4 temporarily out of commission, it's down to Thunderbird 2 to try and stabilise the C-Lab before it goes over into the abyss. But Virgil's having trouble locking on with the magnetic grapples, so Scott shoots out in Thunderbird 1, which hasn't been field tested yet.
Which at first struck me as odd, as usually Thunderbird 1 would go out first, rather than Thunderbird 2 going straight out to the rescue.
Yeah, I think judging from what Brains was saying, Thunderbird 1 had just undergone a complete overhaul and had new equipment fitted. Right. I'm sorry, I just got so much euphoria going right now from... Yes, I was very happy. If that doesn't come across in this, I'm so happy and so pleased. The musical scores for the first episode, the musical cues, amazing. And right, getting back on track. Using his own onboard grapples, Gordon manages to pull Thunderbird 4 out from under the rocks and manages to escape the tunnel by firing a missile at the entrance, blasting the rocks clear, and heading back to rescue the trapped scientists in the underwater laboratory. And this comes to something I was quite intrigued, and I looked at it and thought, yeah, that makes sense, It's the idea that Thunderbird 4, Gordon manages to grapple onto the C-Lab with Thunderbird 4 using its extendable mechanical arms, which look awesome, and proceeded to cut his way into... there's a motorbike going past. Proceeds to cut his way into the C-Lab and rescue the three-man crew inside. But he gets them out one at a time and takes them into the rear compartment of Thunderbird 4, whereupon they are loaded into torpedo-like lifeboats and fired out of Thunderbird 4, which then shoot up and bob up to the surface. I like this idea.
Life pods.
Yeah.
They're really kind of like little life pods.
Yes. It kind of reminds me of those emergency lifeboats that oil rigs have, those uncapsizable lifeboats that fire off for oil rigs. And so the crew are rescued, and Virgil helps recover the crewmen using Pod 4. And that's another thing I forgot to mention. It seems that Thunderbirds 1 and 2, both Scott and Virgil have remote control of their respective machines.
More or less like using a PDA system on their arm.
Yeah, I like that addition. I like that. That's a nice bit of modernisation. If that kind of idea had been around in the 60s, I'm pretty sure Jerry Anderson would have used that.
Yes.
And also, we get to actually something that was never shown in the original series. We get to see Thunderbird 4 and Pod 4 recovered from the sea, which we never got to see in the original series, and I was so happy. I was like, yes, we get to see that. Just
Trying to bring it down a level.
I'm trying to.
I was kind of the same when I saw it at the BFI a few days before the actual.
Right. So, upon retrieving Thunderbird 4 and Gordon and returning to base, they, with the help of Lady Penelope's investigations, they discover that the device is in fact an earthquake machine. And John discovers that said earthquake machine is one of several running all the way along the Pacific fault line. And it's at that moment that a mysterious transmission comes in, and we get our introduction to the Hood, ladies and gentlemen.
Dun dun dun!
Yes, it was me! I was the mastermind behind it all. Well, of course you were. It's the sort of thing you do. And he issues his demand to the world government. He wants 3 spheres of...
some sort of futuristic alloy.
Yes.
Aluminum.
Yes, taken to a Central Pacific island, and he wants all the Thunderbirds handed over to him. Otherwise, he will trigger off all the earthquake machines simultaneously and cause widespread damage. And just to hammer this point home for the world government, he sets off an earthquake in Asia. Where did he say it was? It was...
It ran all the way up, and it affected an area in Taiwan.
That's right. And in... which I think was a deliberate homage to Lord Parker's Holiday, a solar collector, a giant solar collector dish, becomes dislodged from its housing or dislodged from its mount, crushing the command center below it, and is now endangered of frying the nearby city. And so Scott and Virgil launch, this time Thunderbird 2 taking Pod 3 and what appears to be an updated version of the Grabs.
The magnetic claw, as they referred to it in the episode.
Also, from Pod 3 appears something that looks like one of for anybody who's been to amusement parks and fun fairs, you know what I'm talking about. Those sort of long arm rides that sort of twirl and go up and back down, and they have all those mechanisms that clip on over you.
More like a kind of like a safety harness on those type of roller coasters.
Yeah, but they're like a whole bench full, like a 10 by 10 bench full.
On a kind of like a winch system.
Yeah, and Virgil uses that to get the engineers inside the bunker, the crushed bunker below it, out, and again manages to use his remote control to get him and Thunderbird 2 out. And I just remembered, I just skipped over an important part that I wanted to know. Yes. We only see it briefly, we never get to see it seen again, but Virgil comes in ripping the metal cover off of the door to get in and get the engineers. And as soon as I saw that, I thought, whoa, did he just rip that thing off with his bare hands? And then he comes in like an extra from Aliens with those power claws. He's like
kind of like a miniature version of the mechanical suit.
the power loader from Aliens, and I loved that. I was like, yeah, they would have something like that. It's like every single new thing they introduced in the episode, I was like, that would actually make sense to use that.
There's also one point that I would like to mention before the actual rescue begins. With after the Hood makes his demands when he broadcasts them out, John goes and asks Scott, "Did you get all that?" And Scott replies, "Yeah, I heard." I'm just trying to remember what he said. It was that list of demands sounds like something out of a bad movie.
Yeah, I like that dialogue. I do. Yeah.
I just that was a definite reference to the 2004 movie.
Yeah.
Well, that's in your face, Jonathan Frakes.
Yes. Yeah. In case nobody knows, I am not the biggest fan of that film.
Yeah, majority of Thunderbirds fans would agree with you there.
Yes. Anyway, back on track. Scott, however, his rocket pack malfunctions because they can't lift the array, the solar dish, out of alignment like they did in Lord Parker's Holiday, or Holiday. They can't tilt it upwards to face skywards because it would risk crushing the complex and the men inside. So Scott whips out a laser cutter and proceeds to start cutting the supports so that it slides down the mountain harmlessly. However, his rocket pack's been damaged by the intense heat from the solar dish, and unfortunately begins plummeting down with the solar dish. Again, a bit of a
homage to Brains.
Yeah, a reference to what happened to Brains in Lord Parker's Holiday. But after a brief pause, he comes up riding Thunderbird 1 like a giant surfboard. And in fact, Virgil says, "Yeah, save your surfing for the beach, flyboy."
Yes.
Yes. And it's after...
Out in space, Thunderbird 3 is launched to try and find the satellite that's controlling the earthquake machines.
That's right. And after some very brief, very tense moments, only you got 30 seconds. You got 30 seconds, Alan. Gee, no pressure. And also we get a little bit of a friendly dialogue between Ko and Alan about how he says, "Well, I don't exactly mind you babysitting me. Not to say,
kind of referencing the kind of attraction that Alan had to Tintin in the original series.
Yes, I think we might see a little something blossoming there. We get several hints and drops throughout the episode that Jeff is missing and presumed KIA, that's killed in action, because nobody seems to think otherwise. Nobody appears to think he's still alive.
Except for the Tracy family.
And even then, it seems that both Gordon and Virgil have sort of accepted it. That, you know, maybe Dad is dead, but they've sort of accepted it. And they're like, well, if he isn't dead, all the better, but, you know, if he is dead, we'll just have to push on. But it looks like Scott isn't ready to let go yet. Throughout the episode, it seems like Scott's holding desperately on to any chance that Jeff's still alive. It seemed to me. Anyway, we're forgetting. After that awesome little bit in space, and also the introduction of the Thunderbird 3 hoverboard that Alan uses. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. Alan uses a hoverboard shaped like Thunderbird 3.
Even with the thrusters.
Yeah, with the thrusters and all. And I like that. I liked it. And also we get Thunderbird 3 conducting a helio drop with Ko as she goes heliodrop style, from Thunderbird 3 straight down to Australia, where the Hood has his evil lair. And awesome scene, and she deploys a set of air braking wings from her pack, so I like that. And we discover that the Hood's hideout is what appears to be an old military base in very much disuse. And it's then that we get our first good look at the Hood in all his balding glory.
Oh, yes, indeed.
And we'll also learn an important piece of information that KO, that, well, for fans who aren't aware, KO turns out to be the Hood's niece, and that the Hood is her uncle. But none of the other members of International Rescue know this. It appears that only Jeff and Grandma Tracy knew the truth. None of the Tracy brothers or even Brains knows this.
Which I think could make for some good writing in the future.
I agree. And I can definitely see that coming into play later on. In fact, Grandma Tracy even says, Jeff kept your secret and I will too. But there will come a time where you will have to tell them. And also, at the end of this magnificent episode, we got to see the reveal of Thunderbird S, or Thunderbird Shadow.
And it looks sleek and excellent.
Absolutely. So, that's the basic plot overview. Now, on to what we liked and disliked about this introduction to the new series. Well, I think I'll let you go first, because
I think one of the main things that I really liked about the introductory episode in particular is David Graham's performance once again as Parker.
I agree. He did a fantastic job reprising the role, and it looks like he's having fun with it too.
Oh, yes, definitely. Apart from that, I think this episode in particular has the honour of featuring all 5 vehicles used in one episode.
Yes, I quite like that. I also very much enjoyed the launch sequences when we saw both Thunderbirds 1, 2 and 3 launching, and we got to have the absolutely brilliant oh Christ, I've forgotten his name.
Peter Durnsley.
That's it, his beautiful countdown, which also featured in the intro of the episode. But having his countdown, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, for each Thunderbird blasting off, yeah, brilliant. I can't get over how happy I am about that.
Particularly in the when Thunderbirds 1 and 2 were launching at the same time, I noticed something that they did in particular. When it came to the 2 and the 1, you saw the numbers on the ships as they launched.
That's right, and it's the same with Thunderbird 3. As soon as it said 3, you got a real good close-up of the number on the bottom of the ship.
One problem I can see with that, though, is some people might get annoyed every time that happens, and if they continue to do that.
Not if they do what they did in the original series, which was sort of cut it down to just having the Thunderbirds just launching.
Yeah.
Like
that may come in later episodes.
Yeah. It seems that they might do that. Also, I like how they kept how each Tracy brother gets to their craft. Like Scott still has the wall-mounted lamps that revolves round, and Virgil still has the large painting of the rocket ship that he tilts back on.
and Alan has the kind of like, now instead of a sofa, they're now chairs.
Yes, dual chairs, and it looks to be like Thunderbird 3 is only a two-seater. Thunderbird 3 compact model.
What else? Is there anything else that I can think of? Or...
I liked the update of Thunderbird 2's launch when it shows the palm trees, not just the palm trees, but actually the platform the palm trees are on fold away as well.
And the wings actually folded up inside the hangar, which actually makes it able now to get to access the pod that it wants.
Yes, because that was a lot of critiques about Thunderbirds go to the point, how can Thunderbird 2 descend on a pod when the gap between the pods is so small? Well, they got around that, make the wings fold up. And I said this to my parents while we were watching it. I said, it reminds me of the carrier-borne fighters like Hellcats that on old US aircraft carriers. You see, back during World War II, they were airborne fighters and bombers would have the ability to have their wings unbolted and folded up in order for them to be stacked and packed below deck during transport, and then they would be elevated up towards the flight deck, and then they would have their wings unfolded, bolted back together, and then sent on their merry way. I like that idea. It means that not only that, but you can save space, and you can make the hangar door for Thunderbird 2 much smaller as well.
Mm.
Also, the wings don't technically fold out until Thunderbird 2 rises up on its platform to launch. I like that.
And speaking of launches, I love the little subtle details that you got when Thunderbird 1 launched from the swimming pool. Especially when you see it launching up, you see the seats and everything that were there just move aside.
Yeah, you see the deck chairs getting blown away. My first thought of that was, who gets those back into position after every launch? Does poor Grandma Tracy have to pick them up? I'm too old for this shit. Yeah, but
also, talking of funny moments, the new little robot that helps Brains, Max.
Yes, I don't mind Max. Yeah, I was a little apprehensive. They said yes, Brains is going to have a robot, but he's going to be called Max, and he's going to be like a spider robot. And I'm like, oh god, here we go. I'm like, oh, it's going to be that little bugger from Transformers, isn't it? No, it's not. I really liked Max. Kind of a quirky and genuinely funny comic relief, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And my mum's still kind of on the fence regarding Brains being made Indian, but I think that's only because she's pretty much a die-hard purist.
Yeah.
But
I mean, they changed the name of Tintin now to KO, or Tanusha Kirana, as the Hood called her.
That's right. I think the main reason for that was because of they didn't want to get into copyright trouble with the Tintin franchise. For those of you,
Tintin.
Yeah, for the listeners that don't know, the Tintin franchise is a series of action, mystery, and adventure comics that were created by a Belgian artist in the late 50s and early 60s. Very much Indiana Jones if he was a investigative reporter, which I quite enjoy reading, actually.
And the latest film, which was released in that franchise, was released in 2011, which is probably when this series was first getting started in terms of production and everything else.
I don't think they wanted to get into too much trouble with copywriting, with people confusing between the two characters. So I don't mind it, and I rather like KO's character. She's very strong, and when she has a confrontation with the Hood at the end of the... Will you shut up, you buggers? There's a group of very rowdy, looks like Germans playing tennis next door.
Oh dear.
Yeah. Anyway, where was it? Right.
The confrontation with the hood.
Yes. She was very level-headed, and she was she didn't hesitate to verbally smack him upside the head when the opportunity arose. Also, we were introduced to the character of Colonel Casey. Not sure what to think of her, but she seems like somebody who's genuinely good, but is not afraid to put somebody in their place when she has to.
More or less a liaison from the world government to international rescue, more or less.
Yes. I think I like her character. But still, okay. What about the redesigns of the ships? What did you like about the redesigns? Or what did you like that was included and updated?
Out of all the ships, one of my biggest worries was Thunderbird 2, mainly because that was my favourite ship out of them all when I watched the series when it was re-aired on BBC Two. But I have to say, I've actually grown to love this new interpretation of the ship.
Me too. Growing up, Thunderbird 2 was always my favourite because there were all the different pods, and you never knew what was going to come out of the pods on each rescue. And I admit I love the redesign for Thunderbird 2. I thought it a bit odd that they made the intakes so large, but when I come to think about it, it does actually make sense. And
I think Derek Evans himself.
Yes, he did say in an interview that if he could change anything about the Thunderbirds, he would want to make the air intakes on Thunderbird 2 a little bigger. I like Thunderbird 1. Thunderbird 1 is very good. I like the fact that they haven't changed too much of Thunderbird 1, but it still remains true to the original. Like, you can still tell at a glance that is definitely Thunderbird 1.
And the same can be pretty much said for Thunderbird 4 as well.
Yes, I like the fact that they moved the arms into the pods towards the side rather than having everything built into the nose. I also like the fact that the hatch was underneath, but then how the heck does Gordon get into Thunderbird 4? Must get in through the back.
Not too sure, but I love the way how they managed to get Gordon out and into the hatch, because if you look in the particular scene where he's going out to rescue the people on the outer water station, he basically, what happens is the seat folds up and then he basically goes down
head first. Yeah, that would make sense. I also I very much approve of the redesigned costumes and suits that the brothers wear, and KO. I quite like the redesigns.
And when in the particular launch sequences, you see each of the Tracy brothers getting kitted up, and the particular armor as well is more or less padded, more or less particular blocks which are put into sections.
Yes, and I like how they're underneath those their international rescue suits. They're still wearing their regular clothes. It's just sort of sections of it are just clasped and bolted on. I like that idea. I like it.
I'm betting in a few months or so, people might start to try and make cosplays of that.
I wouldn't put it past people. I wouldn't put it past. I think we very well could. So what else? The voice actors. What did you like about the voice actors?
I can't think of anything really that strikes me out. They sound reasonable enough.
Yes, I would agree. And in regards to the Tracy brothers, I liked Grandma Tracy. She had some great and funny moments, particularly with the automatic kitchen. Right. Now, where's your on switch? Brains had some great moments with Max.
Initially, I was concerned about what they would do with Brains, mainly because the voice actor does phone checker and face checker. But hearing it now, yeah, he nails it.
I also rather liked the interaction between the brothers, how they interacted with each other. Like when Virgil comes back from the hot air balloon rescue at the beginning of the episode, and he comes in to the lounge, and Gordon's underneath what appears to be Jeff's desk. He's like, "Gordon, what are you doing?" No, before he sees Gordon, he hears Grandma Tracy said, "Boys, dinner!" And the first thought is he immediately runs for the desk to hide. And he's like, "Gordon, what are you doing there?" Well, as soon as Grandma says dinner, you know I'm not going to be your first test subject. I like that. It's stuff like that I love.
And then there was a particular scene when Thunderbird 1 and 2 were going off. Scott goes, "I'll be the first one then." Virgil replies, "Slow and steady wins the race."
That's right.
Yeah.
I like that. Yeah. You didn't get to see very much of that during the original series, but you didn't get to see very much sort of brotherly interaction with them during the series, but you did in some episodes, but not too much. But I like that you can see them as brothers. The way they interact is how brothers would interact with each other. I really like that. They nailed that perfectly.
Oh, and I've just now thought of something. The Hood, very, very ominous, and whoever voices him now, he does a good job of showing how manipulative and calculating he is.
Considering this is the first real big voice work he's done, I remember looking up the guy, and the only other thing he did before this, he did a couple of made-for-TV movies, but this is the first sort of big acting role he's had. And for the most part, he completely nails the Hood. He really well. I also like how the Hood dresses as well. He's very smartly and dapperly dressed. You know, you don't see so much of the sort of Malayan shawls and kimonos type costumes he wears, but he's very smart dressed. Suit, tie, pin, a vest, a jacket, and he looks like a sleazy businessman. If a sleazy businessman wanted to rule the world, in fact, in his words, he says he didn't want to rule the world. He says, "I just want to own it. Let somebody else run it." I love that.
Yes, definitely.
I love that. That's my kind of villain. I don't want to rule the world. Let somebody else rule the world. I just want to own it.
Well, which is kind of what the original Hood had tried to do in the original series. He wanted to use international rescue to make him rich.
Yeah, he didn't care about ruling the world. In fact, most of the time, in fact, there are a couple episodes. The Mighty Atom comes to mind of the original series. The Mighty Atom and Edge of Impact, in which he's employed by other powers to steal secrets and get paid for it. In fact, when in The Mighty Atom, when he's getting the footage of the internal workings of the atomic station in the Sahara, the idea of international rescue doesn't pop into his head until he sort of sees the fuel station and he thinks, yes,
Of course.
yes.
I not destroy the atomic station and bring out international rescue, and so their secrets will be mine.
Exactly. The thought doesn't occur to him until he sees that. I can make this work to my advantage. But that's what I liked about the Hood. At face value, he looks like a typical run-of-the-mill villain, but it's a lot deeper than that. He wasn't in it to rule the world. He was like, oh, I'm going to rule the world. No, he just wanted rich. He just wanted the riches and knowledge and power that he would gain by collecting all these secrets. Like he didn't want to rule a country. He wanted to own. Like he wanted to let somebody else rule the country, but he wanted to profit from it. That's why, and it seems that this Hood is very much the same. He doesn't want to rule the world. He wants to make a ton of money, and if some innocent bystanders get hurt, then oh well, sucks to be them. So final thoughts. Thunderbirds Are Go. Yay or nay?
For me, it's definitely a yay.
Exactly, same from me. Yay. Double thumbs up from me. And on our final thoughts, what do you hope to see from the new series in the future episodes?
Well, for me personally, one thing I would personally love to see in terms of a future episode is international rescue tackling some sort of volcanic disaster. Seeing a new version of the Firefly trying to deal with the power of a volcano.
Agreed. I would like to see them tackle something otherworldly, like in the TV21, like in the TV21 story Revolt on Jupiter.
And like some of the other stories, like The Visitor.
That's right, The Visitor from Space. I'd like to, or The Visitor from Space, or Revolt on Jupiter. I'd like to see International Rescue try to deal with something that was well out of their comfort zone.
While we're talking about that, also possibly a pseudo remake / inspired by the story Attack of the Alligators.
Yes, having to see International Rescue dealing with some sort of biological menace. Or something like what happened in Mission to Africa when a transporter crash landed in Africa and released a chemical that caused all the local wildlife to just go berserk and bloodthirsty.
I know for a fact that some of the future, they said in an interview, and we have confirmation from that in some pictures, that they are doing some remakes of particular episodes from the past.
That's right. We've seen screen caps of an homage and remake of Trapped in the Sky, which I'm very much looking forward to, and I very much like the redesign for the elevator cars too. And the updated Fire Flash as well. I very much like that.
Which, funnily enough, the episode is going to be entitled Fire Flash.
Oh. Well, yeah, I really want to see something else I really want to see in the new series. I want to see a rescue involving the mole. I just really want... I know you showed me a screen cap yesterday of the mole. I just want to see a full just a full body shot of the mole in action, and that'll set it. But for me, Thunderbirds Are Go. They're definitely go for me.
Yes, I have to agree with you there.
And I can't think of anything else to say on that. This episode was amazing. It was a great introduction to the characters and the Thunderbirds, and a brilliant introduction to the Hood. and
it opens up so many angles and future storylines for them to take possible leads on for the future.
exactly. And I very much look forward to whatever they might have in store for us in the future. So, I very much look forward to next Saturday's Thunderbirds Are Go episode.
Likewise, which will be entitled Space Race.
Yes, and I'm very much looking forward to that. And so, it's goodbye from me, and it's goodbye from him.
Hello. So,
Yes.
see you next time.
Yes, we'll see you next week for the epic space race. This is the Thundercast saying FAB, over and out.
Signing off.